with no allowances or welfare coming from their working places. And that is why the International Labour Organization have chosen this year's theme to be safety and health in working places. But again, in Nigeria, the focus, of course, is not about safety and health in working places. It is about workers' welfare.
Are we not affected with the climate change that we are focusing on? Well,
we are, of course, but you know, we also have our own peculiarity. Looking at the fact that we are still grappling with the issue of remunerations and adequate welfare of the workers in Nigeria. In the last few years, it has always been the issue of adequate remunerations. You can see that the ASU has been going on strike 2 and 4, and strike has remained a recurring decimal in virtually every aspect of governance in Nigeria, especially as it regards to workers. Apart from ASU, even the mainstream civil servant have not been adequately catered for, and that is why you see the Labour also giving warning strikes and calling strikes and all of that. In Niger State, we've had our own fair share of some few hours strike, and you know, even when that strike was called off, not many workers have been adequately informed about what transpired between the Labour Union and the governor. And that is why today an average worker in Niger State is still in the dark as to what is the situation. Be as it may, workers' welfare is paramount. And it is not just about payment of salaries and allowances, but it is equally about the safety of the worker, especially those who have been compelled to work in hazardous situations. And in Nigeria, we've been talking about minimum wage. Of course, the minimum wage has remained a recurring decimal, and this is supposed to be revisited once in every 10 years. It has already been 10 years since the last minimum wage was put in place, and you know, inflation and other market forces have already taken over the 30,000 minimum wage, and Nigerian workers are demanding for more. The government quickly responded by setting up a tripartite committee consisting of 6 governors, the Labour Union, and representatives of the federal government, so as to be able to have an all-inclusive stakeholders on the table of discussion. That discussion is still ongoing, even though there is an immense pressure coming from the Nigerian Labour Union to compel the government to peg the minimum wage. Right now, the NLC is pegging it at 165,000 naira as the minimum wage. And you can see some sitting governors already, like Edo and Lagos State, have already pegged their salaries at 70,000 naira as minimum wage. Even though all of that are informal, until when this tripartite committee concludes its sitting and is able to come up with recommendations that will point the government in the right direction.
When you talk about raising the minimum wage in the country, even the last one, 30,000 naira, it wasn't all true. Some made some adjustment based on levels. So it's not that from level 1 upward they are enjoying the minimum wage of 30,000 naira. Yes. What really happened there at the level? Because the federal government agreed that it is 30,000 naira minimum wage.
Agreed.
And all states were able to have their own minimum wage. What really transpired there?
Yes, what actually happened, like in our own situation in Niger State, you discover that grade level 1 to 5 now has been is gradually being phased out. You hardly can see a civil servant now on between grade level 1 and grade level 5. Probably the one you will see is grade level 6, probably, because even those on grade level 6 have since moved forward to other grades. So it is not actually possible to say this is the 30,000 naira that somebody on grade level 1 will receive, because it doesn't exist on the civil service roster. So that is why that adjustment was made, and I think it was during the regime of Muazu Babangida Aliyu that adjustment was made. And the idea at the time, of course, you know, if you are pegging a minimum wage, you also have to look at the income, what you are generating, because it is one thing to peg a minimum wage, it's another thing to sustain it. If a state quickly realizes that it cannot pay the minimum wage sustainably, there has to be some kind of adjustment. And I think that was what happened during Muaz Babangida's administration. The government quickly realized that it is not feasible for the government to pay 30,000 naira minimum wage continuously until, and that was why some little adjustments were made that peg it a little bit downward below 30,000 naira, so that that can be paid sustainably. You know, if the labor union force a government whose resources may not be able to meet up with the demand of the minimum wage, the government may be forced to retrench. And retrenchment is what everybody is avoiding. And these are some of the situations that usually come up whenever issues of salaries or a minimum wage are being negotiated. The government may begin to toe the line of retrenchment, and the labor union may not want retrenchment. And the while the labor union may be coming with government reducing the cost of running governance, the government may insist that there are also surplus number of workers, hence the idea of retrenchment will have to come in. So you can see that in the last few months, at the federal level, the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is making a serious adjustment to cut the cost of running governance. You can see even the rate renewal of backroom staff that will go with the president on foreign trips have been reduced from 25 to just about 10, and in domestic to about just 15. So all of this is to reduce the cost of governance. But again, that is not even where the matter is. It is also in the motorcade that usually move with a sitting executive, and then the remunerations that goes with traveling allowances, the DTAs. These are all some of the indices where government spent a lot. And then when you look at also the cost of running offices, these are also avenues through which a quantum of money goes down the drain. Because if you go to the office of the president, the vice president, the minister of the Federal Republic, and then you go to the National Assembly, you realize that government is spending a lot of money. And that is why even the labor union and even some other public analysts are talking about running a unicameral legislature, so that we will be able to have just one assembly instead of the two assemblies that we are having at the moment. In more senior climes, a lot of countries are already doing away with bicameral legislatures. Legislature. Nobody wants to run two assemblies at the same time. You can see that even countries like Ghana have made adequate adjustment already. The House of Representatives have gone, and then it is just one assembly. So in Nigeria, we can equally do it to reduce the cost of running governance. If you look at what is being spent on the 36 members of the House of Representatives, it's not a small amount of money, from their salaries to their allowances, and then to the salaries of the backroom staff that also go with them. And then you look at the senators too, about 109 of them. The cost of running their offices too, their backroom staff, and all of that, it costs a lot of money. That was why the former Central Bank Governor, Sanusi Lamide Sanusi, submit that the National Assembly gulp 1/4 of the country's budget. And he's not far from the truth, because when you look at their salaries and the cost of running the assemblies, of course, you know, the government is spending a lot. And all of these are being done at the detriment of the worker. The welfare of the worker is paramount, because the worker is the one who serves as the vehicle that moves the country forward. And that is why at every point in time, the Nigerian Labour Congress have always advocated for improvement in workers' welfare. And on a day like this is the time when all of these things should be brought to the fore and make them as topics of public discourse, so that both the government, the private sector, and all other stakeholders will be in the know, and to create awareness among members of the public on the welfare of the worker and the need to take care of the average worker in Nigeria.
If you look at the monthly allocation to states for the past some months or this year, there has been an increase in federal allocation to states. Apart from the state also exploring other avenues to block leakages in taxes and what have you, there is an expectation that definitely the government must have generated enough revenue to take care of the worker. Coming up with what is happening in the country, the issue of high electricity supply, we're having to contend with subsidy removal, and in larger extent, the high cost of living. If the minimum wage is increased, and we don't have regulatory agencies that regulate the sector in taking care of costs of things, commodities in the market, how can the Nigerian worker really benefit from an increment in his wage?
Yes, I agree with you. The allocation coming to state from the federal government has greatly improved because of the removal of subsidy and increase in revenue generation. And that is why many sitting governors today are happy that the subsidy has gone because it means more money in the coffers of government. And that will mean more increased capacity for sitting governors to do more projects for their people. But even at that, there's also the need to take care of the workers. The workers' welfare too must be considered at every point in time. And that is why for any government to say it wants to restore back the subsidy, it will only provoke the governors, because for them it is a blessing, removal of the subsidy, because it means more money allocation to the state. Because money that was meant to allocate to state is what is being used to settle subsidy in the past. And with this improvement, many sitting governors will be able to do a lot of works. We have seen the example here in Niger State. You can see at the moment, Niger State have been taken apart in all angles and every department, and in every nook and cranny of Niger State, there are reconstructions ongoing, truly to the coinage New Niger. Of course, that we can continue to give a roaring applause to the Governor Mohammed Umar Bago for making us to see what he's doing with what he is able to get from the federation account. And for the workers, there are competing demands waiting for the meager salary that they earn. An average school teacher in primary school is actually the worker in Niger State, because it is from him that you can set the benchmark of salaries everywhere. The worker, the primary school teacher and the secondary school teacher, of course, serve as the benchmark, not the permanent secretary in the ministry or a senior director in the ministry, no, but the person who earns the lowest of the salaries is the one that you should look at. If an average teacher in primary school earns 65,000 naira in monthly, and when you look at competing demands before him, payment of electricity bill, payment of school fees, hospital bills, if he's in a rented house, he has to pay rent, and then putting food on the table, and so many other competing demands before him, you realize that the 65,000 naira is simply not enough, and it is not enough to take him home. It cannot be assumed to be a take-home package. So, and hence the need for the government to actually look and see what it can do to improve the salaries of those who are not earning much. You can see that we were here sometimes in, I think, 1996 or thereabout, when Simeon Odoye was the governor of Niger State. At the time, the minimum wage was just about 300 naira. And what he did at the time was to take 300 naira and give to his wife to go to the market and see what she can buy with 300 naira. Of course, she came back with a nylon bag containing 300 naira worth of food items that she bought. And, you know, God touched his mind that time, and he said, no, this cannot be assumed to be a take-home package. And on his own, he increased the workers' salaries. And, of course, you know, there was no pressure from the labor. Nobody compelled him to add salaries. It was on his own that he added the salaries of workers that time. Even though there were other forces that were also against that, who were trying to discourage him from doing so, because they said Niger State men are fond of marrying, and they also frequent beer parlors. If he increase salaries, they will marry more wives and go to beer parlors. But that didn't deter him. He said, even at that, we still have more reasonable men than the unreasonable ones that you are mentioning. And he went ahead to increase the salary. So it's the same thing we also expect from the governor. Even though we know that everywhere around us there are a lot of things left undone. And Umar Mohamed Bago is trying to address all of these issues one after the other. I'm sure he will come round to the issue of workers. Definitely he will come round. He will also come round to the issue of pensioners. Definitely he will come round to that. And once and for all, we expect that once he faced that situation, the rodents who have refused to allow things to work will be carefully identified and be flushed out, so that on the long run we should be able to have a clean roster of civil servants and a clean roster for pensioners in Niger State. Workers and pensioners have suffered untold hardship for so many years, and here comes the Messiah, and we are sure Mohamed Umar Bago will not rest on his oars to address the issue of workers. He will not let grass grow under his legs to address the issue of workers in Niger State, at least once and for all.
All right, 0903-880-8883. Happy Workers' Day, Nigerian worker, the ever-resilient worker. Hello, good morning. Okay. 0903-880-8883 is the number to call in, of course, make your comment. Hello, good morning. Good morning, sir.
Dr. Dantala, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Dr. Dantala?
Yes, sir.
Very disappointing. Workers have been working for many, many years. No improvement in standard of living. No increment in salary. No remuneration. No motivation. Security is not there and protection is not there for their work. I don't know why we keep on celebrating what is not available. In developed countries, they celebrate what they believe is available or what they believe is progressing. Are we really progressing, or are the workers progressing? If you see the benefit of workers, it's only within the executive. The union executive are the only ones getting some silent benefits and secret benefits, leaving the committed ones behind. Very unfortunate. I don't know when Nigeria is going to work up to do the right thing. And without making a correction, sincerely speaking, corruption will increase. Take it or leave it. Criminals or crime will also increase. Diversion of funds will also increase. Embezzlement will also increase. We need to make sure that these people are satisfied financially before we should begin thinking of how to fight corruption. If not, we'll just be beating about the bush. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. 0903-880-8883 is the number to call and, of course, make your comments. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Ajia Memuna.
Happy Workers' Day, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Antala.
Good morning, sir.
You are speaking with Comrade Ahmed, calling in from 123 quarters.
All right, comrade, make your comments.
The workout, the title, workers' welfare, entitlement, and working condition. Am I correct, Doctor? But it seems it has become a manifesto or a slogan to workers, whatever May Day is by the corner. The government always have promises for their workers. And from the previous experience, the workers always have these promises and it become odious. They will say it mere mouth, but it will not be implemented. But I think the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC need to come together and see where these workers will have their welfare and entitlement. But to the retirees, the pensioners, I think if they were to ask that either their workers' welfare or their entitlement, and I'm very sure they will say, let the government give them their entitlement and forget about the welfare. Because the living condition for those pensioners is very terrible. Dr. Dantala, let me bring to your notice that in Niger State here,
the numbers of dead pensioners we have is almost superseding the living pensioners, because most of them result by giving 35 years in services, retired and not getting their benefits, and at the end of the day, they will die with all this frustration. And by the time they leave this world, the family will be running head-to-head, and the two agencies, which is Pension Board and PFA, will be using you as a rose cake. If you go to Pension Board, the Pension Board will send you to PFA, the PFA will send you to that. I don't know when we'll get it right. And until those workers who work in Pension Board begin to have fear of God, because Dr. Lentala, if you see the kind of exhaustive life those workers living, those workers in Pension Board are living, you will have pity for the pensioners. But you should have the fear of God. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Welfare of not only the workers, but the pensioners.
Now that he has laid emphasis on the issue of pensioners, of course, yes, pensioners in Niger State have never had it rosy in the last 10 years. A lot of pensioners have had to forfeit their entitlements when the cold hands of death came visiting. Many of them have suffered untold hardship. Many of them have been ravaged by psychological and mental issue as a result of their inability to lay their hands on their entitlements. And up to today, a lot of them are still struggling. And of course, even those who are still in the service are also struggling to earn what actually belongs to them. You can see, for example, before the last administration went up, there was a change in the law which said that a certain category of workers have been taken away from the new pension scheme and back to the old pension scheme. And it means that their disengagement with the PFs, and hence the refund of the 7.5% of the salaries that were being deducted over the years. Till today, this category of workers are still struggling, and stories have always been flying, different stories coming from the PFS, coming from the workers themselves. And till today, nobody will beat his chest and tell you this is the real situation, because the PFS will tell you an encouraging story, but again, when you go back home and sit down, you realize that that story is simply just a gimmick to actually send you away. And no worker today, especially those who are potential beneficiaries of that 7.5 refund, can actually tell you anything. And the NLC is simply an onlooker. The NLC have remained have taken a sit-don't-look posture, not mediating between the PFS and the workers. Otherwise, ideally, the Nigerian Labour Congress, Niger State chapter, is supposed to move in there and get genuine information from the PFS, so that the beneficiaries should be able to know what is actually happening. But you can see it is the beneficiaries themselves who are moving to and forth from the PFA to the banks and then to other concerned individuals. Series of screening. And even as during their meetings with the governor during the brief strike, the NLC is supposed to have come out and make a press conference to address the workers on what transpired between the NLC and the governor. That has not taken place. An average worker has been left in the dark. And you can see that
just press release.
And you can see the workers too have also been left in the dark as to the NICAR deduction. Of course, the NICAR came in a very plausible program for the welfare of the workers, and the NLC was also on the table during the negotiations and the committees that were set up, but there was no feedback coming from the NLC to the workers. And all the workers saw was just a deduction this month, last month, when salaries were paid. Ideally, NLC is supposed to brief branch organizations, and then various branch organizations will call for Congress and address their workers. But this didn't happen. As we are speaking today, an average worker will only tell you, I saw deduction, but I don't know for what.
Aisha Jibril, wishing you all the best. Happy Workers' Day. Thank you, Aisha Jibril, for that comment on our Facebook page. Umar Abdul Razak, he's saying good morning to you. We are very excited, grateful for this program. But what are they going to start paying our parents, please? That's pensioners. Okay, let's take this.
Yes, one another. Hello?
Good morning, Doc.
Morning.
Morning, Auntie Mona.
Morning, sir.
My name is Abubakar Sadiq Mohammed. I am one of the officials of the contributory pensioners.
All right. Happy Workers' Day.
That I am one of the officials of the contributory pensioners in the United States.
All right, sir.
And I think I'm in position to comment as it relates to our plight.
All right, go ahead, sir. Briefly.
But first of all, let me say this. I think Nigerians, or rather, the National Assembly or whosoever is going to do it must have to wake up. It's like the mentality of politicians, generally, towards the welfare and plight of retirees in Nigeria. It's nothing to write home about. Because my studies show that almost every state in Nigeria has problem of inability to pay pensioners. These people that you have used during their young age and they are retired now and cannot help themselves. I think something fundamental is wrong, that there is need for a research or there is need for a body to really find out what is really wrong with these state governors. That each time they come, they turn their back against these senior citizens. We should be able to get to that. But for now, we were expecting a different thing in United States. Because even before that we assumed office, he had a meeting with us one particular night around 11 or so when we demonstrated. And believe me, he showed his commitment and willingness to come to the aid of retirees in Niger State, particularly the contributory pensioners. Those who have spent about 15, 13 years, no pension, no gratuity. But surprisingly, up to this moment, we have not had any clear statement from His Excellency after about 10 months that he had meeting with us. Because he gave us every signal for us to believe him. Because after listening to us, he sympathized with us and even gave handouts to be distributed to the people. So, whatever is happening, we want His Excellency to please quickly address the issue of pensioners in United States, particularly the contributory pensioners. I'm aware that even 2 days ago, the officials of our officials at the NUP level wrote a press release and even wrote to His Excellency drawing his attention to the plight of the pensioners in United States, particularly the contributory pensioners. It is my prayer that His Excellency will be able to do something. I'm sure something is being done, but it's not enough. We want to see it practically, Dr. Bentala. Let me not take too much of your time. I'll call back again and so that I can give others a chance to contribute.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right. Jaffer Ibrahim Bendiga, okay, wishing you all the best. May God continue to bless your effort and safeguard you from your known and unknown enemies. I mean, happy New Month and happy Workers' Day, but truth to be told, workers are not smiling. Have a nice day ahead. Thank you, Jaffer Ibrahim Bendiga. Muhammad Awal Liman, on this special day, I salute all the workers in Nigeria for their dedication, resilience, and commitment to their work. We celebrate Workers' Day. Let us remember the importance of fair labor practices and the rights of all workers in Nigeria. Thank you, Muhammad Awal Liman. Abbas Mahmoud is saying, okay, wishing you all the best. Happy Workers' Day and happy New Month. God bless you all. Amen. Thank you, Abbas Mahmoud. Nura Senda, Doctor has said all. I hope media will not stop in just celebrating Workers' Day. the welfare of workers is very important. Happy Workers' Day. Thank you, Nora Senda, for that comment. Masood Opoza, Happy Workers' Day to productive and dedicated workers. We hope that with patience and prayers, everything will soon be fruitful. May God touch the hearts of our governors to do the needful. Amen. Masood Opoza. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Jami Muna.
Good morning, sir.
I see the main comrade. I'm calling you back from 123 quarters.
All right, comrade.
Dr. Dantala.
Yes.
Somebody was telling me, when I mentioned his name, he was having conversation. I was telling me that I should take notice of something. That they always tell pensioners that go to pension board, your names are in place. As soon as you reach there, the first staff you met will tell you you have to wait for so person. The second person will tell you, no, go to your bank. I think you have problem with your social. Reaching the bank is not the problem. The bank will now send you back to your PFA that you have to verify some things and then come back again. Not getting there again, they will send you down to cafes or for photocopy. Do you know the reason why they are doing so? The person was telling me that it is a tactic. The little money that is at the confidence of these pensioners that is using for logistics and other things, as soon as he finished, he would get tired and then he will get tired and then get discouraged. So I think if that's what they think they will do, they should fear that one day they will also retire and disengage from service.
Definitely.
So please, we are calling on them to stop this habit and then try to make our pensioners smile home. Thank you very much.
Okay, creating more hardship for the pensioners is quite unfortunate. Sani Baban Sani on Facebook page is saying, I'm here to wish you happy Workers' Day, happy new month. God bless you all. May God continue to bless our country, Nigeria. I mean, Sani Baban Sani Ngor Kanawa Bosu. Umar Azmi. Workers' Day. An average worker has turned to street almajiri due to high cost of living, retirees falling sick and dying of pressures here and there, and some few who are opportune to be at the financial sector trained to loot, allegedly. And NLC is another topic of the day. Happy ends sad Workers' Day. Umar and Azmi, thank you. Ibrahim Hashim. In remembrance of this special needy, I wish you all the best. Same to you. Hello, good morning. Morning, sir.
Local government staff are suffering. Unnecessary deduction and diversion of their salary as they named by their co-workers. NLC, are they no part of them?
They are.
What have they been doing? Or is it simply because they felt they are benefiting from that same diversion or that same deduction they did make? Imagine a treasurer or cashier or one of the accountants is also an executive within the labor, and you are expecting the right thing should be done. The right thing will not be done. If you are expecting Mr. President should do the right thing, then the question should begin from you. Have you been doing the right thing? Our government staff are dying in silence. They are only suffering and smiling. More concentration and concern should be given to local government from state and federal, please. If not, at the end of the day, there will be more poverty in the country if the local governments are not carried along or they were not given priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we have these comments coming from Juma Idris. He's saying workers are suffering and smiling. Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Ambassador Gebu the Challenger. I'm calling you from Tudun Fulani City. Happy Workers' Day.
All right, happy Workers' Day.
But workers are suffering and it's a very sympathetic issue and it's also worrisome. Number one, if you take a look at it, the upgradation of national minimum wage, 25th governors, most especially from the north, cannot even pay 30,000 naira minimum wage. So if the increment comes, will they be able to pay? Secondly, the issue of promotion, 2-3 years, no implementation. in local
the
government.
benefits.
Have they paid? They have not paid up to now. The issue of 7.5 up to now, they are still battling with it. Hajia Memuna, they have paid salary. How many workers have seen salary in Niger State into you? So I am advising my governor. He is my principal, Right Honorable Umar Babu. It is an advice. He should step up and tackle the issue of pensioners and retirees. They are suffering. He should step up and tackle the issue of 7.5. And he should step up and tackle the issue of increment of salary, promotion for 2-3 years, no implementation. My governor, it is an advice. Step up and do the needful.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel the Challenger. Alhaji Abubakar Abdullahi on our Facebook page is saying, Happy May Day. Okay, thank you. Please, NLC leaders should please have the fear of Allah between the civil servants and the government. Doctor has said it all. God bless you all. I mean, Doctor, you had their comments.
Yes, and I think everybody's comment has always been good and apt to the best of all of our ability. But again, the Workers' Day that is being celebrated is to raise awareness to both stakeholders, the Nigerian Labour Congress, the workers themselves, the government, even the private sector, on the need to have the welfare of the workers. The theme of this year's celebration, safety and health in working places in a challenging climate, of course, is coming at the right time, even though it is not in tandem with our own situation in Nigeria, because in Nigeria we are talking about minimum wage now. But again, we are also recipient of this issue of climate change. Hence, the need for government to look inwardly to see how it can improve the welfare of the worker, especially too, the private sector need to do more in terms of the welfare of workers. If you go to many private sectors today, both private schools and other organizations, the minimum wage has not still been met, and issues of a fresh one is just coming in. There's also for the government to equally look inwardly to see how it can bring succor to the life of an average Nigerian. What Nigerian is receiving today as salaries is not enough to take home when you consider the competing demands before the take-home salary. So overall, I think the celebration is worth it, and of course, the raising of awareness is also coming at the right time for us in Nigeria, and we continue to pray and hope that this government will find it much more easier to address many of the issues that is confronting it at the moment, and which is also confronting Nigerians.
All right. Ayuba Francis, wishing you all the best. Thank you for that comment on our Facebook page. And with that, we come to the end of this Wednesday edition of the program, Nigeria Today. We are celebrating Workers' Day, Happy Workers' Day. Okay, special appreciation to the DCA on duty, Ahmed Issa Sakbe, and of course, our online engineer, talking about Stephen Jia, to Dr. Muhammad Ansala Aliu. My name is Maimuna Muhammad Babangida, saying Happy Workers' Day, brighter days ahead. Good morning.